Okay, so the first story that I have for you guys today, it's going to be down at DreamWorks Animation, where apparently they have announced that they are going to be making a sequel to one of their new IPs. Now, as you guys are probably aware, DreamWorks has a lot of new IPs that has yet to earn a sequel. The closest that we've ever got to that would be to The Croods, and unfortunately, due to complications, The Croods 2 is never going to happen. And the last time that a new DreamWorks IP did get a sequel would be How to Train Your Dragon. So what would it be? And it is really tough to consider nowadays since a lot of DreamWorks' new IP movies didn't necessarily make a lot at the box office. Like when you look at Mr. Peabody and Sherman, Rise of the Guardians, Turbo, and all of those movies, or even Home, like a lot of these are flops, but at best they're just modestly profitable. That's pretty much it. Like, they didn't reach the levels of success of movies like Shrek or Kung Fu Panda or Madagascar or any of those films. However, surprisingly enough, this movie in particular, DreamWorks actually felt that there needs to be more of it. And they decided apparently it's Trolls. So yes, DreamWorks Animation has officially announced that there is going to be a Trolls 2. However, they did not leave any more information regarding what's going to be going on with it. The only thing that we know so far is just that Anna Kendrick and Justin Timberlake are going to be reprising their roles as Poppy and Branch, and that the movie will have a release date of April 2020. We don't know if there's going to be a new plot, or we don't know what the plot is going to be about. We don't know who's going to be added in as, like, the new characters or, like, the new stars that are going to be joining in to the movie. And we don't even know if the directors or writers are going to be returning to this project as well. All we know is just that the two main characters are coming back, and we have a release date. That's pretty much it. And honestly, for me, I find it to be rather surprising. Because, number one, as a movie in itself, I think we can all agree that Trolls is not necessarily DreamWorks' best animated feature. I mean, sure, the visuals are definitely fantastic, and the animators did a great job with it, but in terms of story and characters and all that kind of stuff, it really is rather weak. Like, it's made more, like, you could tell that this is the kind of movie that's trying to make more, like, for merchandising purposes than to actually have a movie in itself. And especially when, like, you got a whole bunch of characters there and they barely do anything. Like, this is just the story of Poppy and Branch, while everyone else is just filler, and, like, you got a whole bunch of modern pop references, along with the fact that this is a jukebox musical. Everybody is out there just trying to sing modern pop versions of a variety of songs. They could be like oldies from the 60s, or they could be pretty recent from a few years ago. You do have a bit of a mix on that. And not only the movie is just more like not DreamWorks' strongest, but there's also the factor that it really didn't make a lot of money at the box office. I mean, I'm not saying that it's a flop. It is far from being in the levels of something like Mr. Peabody and Sherman or Penguins of Madagascar. It's just that it's only modestly successful. By the time that I am recording this, it made about $340 million worldwide at the box office. That's not even as much as Home. And honestly, that is rather surprising, because whenever DreamWorks would want to immediately go and make a sequel, that would usually be reserved for movies that would end up making more than $500 million at the box office, like The Croods, or How to Train Your Dragon, or Kung Fu Panda, or at least somewhere close to those levels. So it is a rather unusual choice why they would go and take something like Trolls and go actually create a sequel for it. Like, honestly, I imagine that if they really wanted to go and continue making more with the Trolls, I imagine they would just go and make a Netflix series out of it. Because, like, especially with the art style that it definitely has the potential to be very well translated from the movie and to do something with 2D Flash animation as just a series, you know? I thought that would be a good idea there, but no, it seems that DreamWorks really wanted to do more. So with that said, it had me really thinking. Like, I had to really sit there and try to think to myself, like, why is it that DreamWorks would really want to do a sequel to Trolls, even though Trolls is not necessarily their strongest movie, both critically and financially? And I know, like, some people might bring up the Rotten Tomatoes score and stuff like that, but I mean, when you look at the score itself that the critics would give them, like, normally you would see them give somewhere around, like, an okay rating, like around either 6, 5, or 4, somewhere around those levels. So it had me thinking. So this is not DreamWorks' strongest movie at all, but why is it that they really wanted to go and make a sequel? And I thought about it. It's not necessarily the movie itself why they want to make a sequel. It's because of everything around it. And I have 2 big reasons to why, or 2 big evidence to why is it that for DreamWorks, Trolls was a massive success. And number 1, it is the soundtrack. Now, anybody who has seen the movie, or who has at least known what the movie is about, they know that music plays a huge factor in the movie. Like, it is a jukebox musical, so they do have moments where they would go and sing, and it would play a key element in this feature. You know, that's what, it's a big engine to move this movie forward. And when you look at the soundtrack itself, that thing right there is actually highly successful. We can even debate if it's even more successful than the movie itself. Allow me to explain. Now, I actually have Wikipedia right in front of me, and I checked on all the sources that it has, and it is actually pretty legit. So, in terms of its commercial performance, the soundtrack peaked at number 1 on the ARIA charts, number 3 on the US Billboard 200 album chart, number 4 on the New Zealand album chart, and number 4 on the UK album chart. It received a platinum certification by the Recording Industry Association of America. So this is a platinum album, and the Australian Recording Industry Association. So both in the US and in Australia, it's pretty much a bestseller. It's pretty much went platinum. The lead single, Can't Stop the Feeling, performed by Justin Timberlake, was released on May 6, 2016, and reached number 1 on the chart on 17 countries, including the US Billboard Hot 100. So the soundtrack was a massive success, and especially with Can't Stop the Feeling. In fact, let me go more into it with the awards that Can't Stop the Feeling actually got. So, apparently, Can't Stop the Feeling won the Grammy Award for Best Song Written for Visual Media and was nominated for the Academy Awards for Best Original Song. Timberlake received the Hollywood Song Award for Can't Stop the Feeling at the 2016 Hollywood Film Award and won for Song in Animated Film at the 2016 Hollywood Music in Media Awards. It also was nominated for Golden Globe for Best Original Song, Critics' Choice Award for Best Song, and Satellite Award for Best Original Song. So that's the big thing. Not only is the soundtrack a huge bestseller, but Can't Stop the Feeling itself is also a giant success. It's pretty much the next Happy. Like, you know how it went, like, when Happy was released, it was a part of Despicable Me 2, and then Happy suddenly just became the biggest thing on its own, like, right after the Oscars. And with Trolls, Can't Stop the Feeling is the new big single right now. And because of all the nominations that it has gathered, and especially the big one being the Oscars, which because of Can't Stop the Feeling, we have to pretty much say that Trolls is actually an Oscar-nominated film. Kind of like in the same veins that Suicide Squad is an Academy Award-winning feature. I mean, sure, like, the component to why it got recognized at the Oscars is rather small. Like, for Trolls, it's because of a little piece of music. For Suicide Squad, it's because of the hair and makeup. But regardless, it still earned that title. And when DreamWorks would go and get an Oscar nomination, usually they would make a big deal out of it. Like, this is amazing news for them. I mean, it hasn't happened that an original DreamWorks animated feature that is not a sequel that actually did get an Oscar nomination for whichever. Like, it doesn't have to be just Best Animated Feature, but for anything. The last time that it happened was The Croods back in 2013. Or in 2014 at the Oscars, but you guys know what I mean. So it is a pretty big deal that DreamWorks did get an Oscar nomination, so that is a massive vehicle. So yeah, that's big. That's the big reason number one, is because of the soundtrack and also for Can't Stop the Feeling. And then you got reason number two. Now technically, the soundtrack could also encompass this, but this is a huge factor. Like, maybe this is a bit of an afterthought, but there is a lot of truth to it. And that is merchandising, where the real money for the movie is made. Trolls the t-shirt, Trolls the coloring book, Trolls the lunchbox, Trolls the breakfast cereal, Trolls the flamethrower. The kids love that one. So yeah, merchandising plays a giant factor. I mean, really think about it. When was the last time that you have been to a big superstore like Walmart, or even at a mall or something like a Walmart or Macy's or Toys R Us or Target or any of these things? I can guarantee you when you go in there, you will see the same amount of Trolls merchandising as you would the same amount of like Despicable Me merchandising, or Frozen merchandising, or Disney merchandising, or Secret Life of Pets merchandising. It became a huge factor. And in the same ways, like a lot of people have said for the longest time that DreamWorks Trolls is pretty much DreamWorks' answer to Sony's Smurfs, where it started out as a big piece of merchandising now turned into a feature film. And with Trolls, it definitely is for real. Like, it started out as a series of toys, and eventually it would grow into something bigger. And because of this movie, now we just got a variety of stuff. We got like a whole bunch of toys, we got a whole bunch of dolls, we got a whole bunch of t-shirts, clothing lines, whatever. Like, Trolls is pretty much everywhere, and even to this day you see it going around. So there must be something in the marketing that it really did work, that it really sold off big for DreamWorks. So basically, they're making a sequel not because of the movie itself, but because of everything around the movie, because of how the soundtrack was a huge success, more so than the movie itself, and because of how the merchandising really reaped in the money for DreamWorks. And that's why, so when a sequel will come out, and they did state that it is going to be a musical comedy, they will have a new soundtrack that they are hoping that they can make another Can't Stop the Feeling, and there is definitely going to be more merchandising where there's going to be brand new toys featuring like the brand new characters, or like maybe the same old characters but in new attire. So there's definitely a lot of options out there. In a way, this is not just DreamWorks' answer to Sony's Smurfs. This is pretty much DreamWorks' answer to Pixar's Cars, where they're not making more sequels because the movies are fantastic. In fact, some people can argue that the Cars movies are the weakest of the Pixar bunch, but it's because of the merchandising. And keep in mind, with Cars, like the amount of stuff that they can sell with it, with all the toys, they can go for like billions. Trust me, it's a serious moneymaker at Disney, which is why Disney is somehow making a big deal at one of their weakest franchises that they have made. And it's the same thing with Trolls. They've made a lot of money in terms of the marketing and everything around the movie, but not specifically the movie itself. So yeah, that's pretty much my ideology to how DreamWorks would come up with an idea to go and create a Trolls 2. So, if you actually are excited to go and see Trolls 2, then all you have to do is just wait for April 10th, 2020 for the movie to be released. But for now, just relax with all the toys that you got and with the soundtrack. Hey guys, this is Animat. I just want to remind you guys that this is just a little taste of what you can get with the Animation Podcast. This is not all of it. If you guys want to go and listen to the full episodes of the Animation Podcast, then allow me to show you some of the different ways that you can go. First off, you can actually go on the website that it is hosted on, Filmbook, so you can go directly onto there. You can also go and check out the official Filmbook Podcast YouTube page, so at least you don't have to go away from YouTube and you can listen to the podcast right there. But if you would like to listen on the go, like if you want to listen it to on your phone or on your iPad and all that kind of stuff, then you can listen to it on either iTunes or you can listen to it on Android. So those are all the different options, and if you'd like to have more info, then all you have to do is just check in the description down below. And with all that said, I just want to say thank you guys so much for listening, and until next time, see you later, dudes!